On 20th September 2017, I sat with my head in my hands, and I wondered how we're going to pay our salaries this month. I'm Kanika Tekriwal. I started Jet Set Go 3 years ago. We've demonstrated 7x growth year on year, like she said. We closed FY17 with over $10 million in revenue, 5% net profit. But I still worried last month about how I'm going to pay my salaries. You know, I spent a lot of sleepless nights during the last month thinking, what did we do wrong? Why don't we have the money? We are profitable. This year's growth's been as good as last year. What's going on? You know, I mean, the simple answer is we weren't collecting money as fast as we should be. And we were obviously going on a very, very aggressive expansion phase, which we continue to go on. I hate asking people for things. You know, I mustered up all my courage, spent yet another sleepless night. I woke up in the morning, called a customer, and said, you know, sir, I need you to pay your bills. He laughed really hard. And he said, Kanika, since when did you start asking for money? There's a joke in my office that Jet Set Go never asks for money, we have to pay it to them. I said, well, look, you know, I've gotten into this cash flow situation, and I'm really worried. I need your help. To my surprise, he laughed harder. And I was like, you know, what is this man doing? I'm asking him for money. I'm telling him I'm troubled, and he's laughing at me. He's also one of our largest customers. He told me one thing that changed my life then on. He said, Kanika, in my experience, cash flow trouble is a sign of growth, and it's a sign of very good growth. Please don't worry about any money. You'll have your payments deposited by the end of the day. We'll also pay you in advance for the next 6 months. Relax. You know, I was elated. I was so happy. I think after days and days, I was happy. I was crying. I was jumping, all of it together. And it wasn't only because the money had come in. You know, it made me realize 3 very important things, which I hadn't realized in the past 3 years of building this business. One was my problems are never as big as I make them out to be. You know, it was a simple cash flow issue. I don't know why I spent so many sleepless nights over it, thinking the world's going to come to an end, thinking of all those faces who told me, ye nahi chalega, phone pe kaun plane book karega, aap plane chalaoge, etc. The second most important thing that I learned was my customers believe in me. You know, I'm a 3-year-old company. I've got a billionaire who's telling me that, listen, don't worry, we'll pay you for the next 6 months in advance. We know you're not going to run away. If my customers believe in me, how could I lose faith in myself for those 20 days, 10 days, 5 days, whatever it was? I think the third most important learning that came out of this entire conversation was that, you know, if you really, really want something, the entire universe conspires with you to make it happen for you. I think we've all heard this line again and again and again at various conclaves and TED Talks here, there, etc. But how many of us have actually believed in it? You know, I saw it come true for me. Never in the wildest of my dreams did I think that it would be so easy to walk out of a problem. You know, I'm someone who works about 18 to 20 hours a day. I'm sure most people in this room suffer the same crisis as me. So I actually took the day off that day. It was about 4 in the afternoon. You know, I took the day off. I went for a drive. I told my driver, just drive me around aimlessly. Don't ask me where we have to go, what we have to do. Keep driving till I ask you to stop. And I began to think about how I started this business, why I started it, what happened. And my mind went back to when I was 21. I was diagnosed with cancer. I was this bubbly young thing, full of energy, and suddenly the doctor told me that, you know, Kanika, you've got cancer, you've got to deal with it. I think it was that day that changed my life. I took a conscientious decision that I'm going to survive this, I'm going to fight it, and I'm going to come out shining like nobody's business. Cancer actually came as the biggest blessing in disguise. You know, everyone would say, oh, don't say the big word, the C word, etc. But, you know, I love to say cancer was the best thing that happened to me. I got 9 months off to just sit at home and think of whatever I wanted to do. You know, I got 9 months of no interruption, the whole world spoiling you, your parents giving you whatever you want, people coming to visit you. 9 months to be free, no worries, nothing. I mean, yeah, there was treatment going on parallelly, but it wasn't such a big worry. It was during those 9 months that the idea of Jet Set Go was, you know, I conceptualized Jet Set Go in my mind. And the day I finished treatment, I told my parents I'm moving to Delhi to start up this company that I want to start. You know, I come from a very orthodox Marwari family, and the first thing my dad said was, no, you've got to sit at home, spend a year, you know, figure out how to recover properly, exercise, eat well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know, if I spend another day in Bhopal, I'm going to need a shrink. I have to get out of here. Against my parents' wishes, I packed my bags and moved to Delhi. And I spent about 2.5 years just figuring out if this idea is going to work. I worked as a consultant. I had to make 2 ends meet. I wasn't taking money from my parents. And I was just trying to test the market, see what sort of responses I got. 80% of the responses I received was, you're wasting your time. Why do you want to do this? This is India. No one will use a phone. It's such a small market. Who will give you money? Who will invest? Et cetera, et cetera. One fine day, I said to myself, I can either keep testing the market, or I can go out there, implement my idea, fail if I have to, succeed if I have to. But at least 10 years later, I'm not going to look back and say, I didn't do this. I had this idea. So I woke up one morning and I said, enough of this consultancy, enough of ensuring I have enough money to pay my bills. I invested 5,600 rupees with a CA to form this company, and that remains my investment till date in the business. And thus began Jet Set Go. I was this one person running this one company out of a bedroom. I would answer the phone with different names because I didn't want people thinking that it's one person running this one company. I would become Sunita, Kanika, Monica, everything. I sometimes even took male names, realizing it's a female voice and the other guy's going to figure out, but any which way. We successfully closed, or I successfully closed my first flight, I think, 4 months after incorporation. And believe it or not, that flight got cancelled. It never happened. Not because the customer didn't want the plane, but because I messed up. The private jet supplier decided to cancel the plane 2 hours before departure, saying the pilot's not well and there's an engine issue. I didn't know what to do. It was the most helpless moment of my life. I couldn't mobilize a private jet that quick. I wasn't strong enough in the industry to be getting that sort of credit to mobilize it. I had to face all my fears, pick up the phone, and tell the customer, look, I've messed up. All I can say is I'm sorry, and try help you find a solution. That night, I questioned the idea, my business, my being, everything again and again and again. And I was at that tipping point where, do I shut shop and go back to doing what I was doing, or do I continue? And something in me told me that, the best is yet to come. This is just a small hiccup. You've got to move on. And I made up my mind. I kept thinking to myself that if I could beat cancer, this was a damn flight. We can conquer it. And we moved on. I then realized that I can't be doing this on my own. I needed help. I found myself a co-founder. And he was sitting in Dubai advising me on how to work out the finances, how to build a team, et cetera, et cetera. But in essence, I continued to be one person trying to build this company. From that one flight which got cancelled to doing one flight a month, we moved on to doing one flight a week. From one person, we grew to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 10, so on. And I think today we have one Jet Set Go plane average in the sky every minute of the day. And we operate India's largest fleet of private jets and helicopters. But from that one flight a day to doing whatever we're doing today, I would say there's something that you learn which is called the new normal. Something that seemed like such a big problem 2 years ago is not even a problem. You laugh over it today. Simple things like an invoice not going out on time would irk me earlier. Not knowing how much money we're going to have in the bank would irk me earlier. Not knowing how we're going to achieve a certain mission would irk me earlier. I didn't know how to check the weather every 10 seconds to ensure if a plane can take off or not. But these simple problems, obviously today, seem like, you laugh at them. But at that point of time, I think they become the center of your focus and they take away from you the positive things you can do. In the past 2 years, what I've learned, I think, what I've learned in a very unconscious manner or subconsciously is that you've got to trust people and you've got to trust yourself. I hired my first employee who still is with us. And he started with me at a salary of 20,000 rupees a month taking a haircut. And today he's probably drawing about 4 lakhs a month from us. But he's helped me build that company from scratch. If I hadn't trusted that individual, I don't know how far we would have gotten from here. At the same time, we made a lot of bad choices. I trusted the wrong people. But I didn't look back and tell I didn't really realize we were trusting the wrong people, but at the same time, when I look back, I think these were all mistakes that we learned from and that helped us prosper. There were times when planes wouldn't turn up. We were simply, when we started, an online platform for people to book private jets and helicopters. What would start happening is like the first flight which got cancelled, various planes wouldn't turn up, pilots wouldn't turn up, planes would get spoiled. And ultimately, it was the Jet Set Go name that would get spoiled. You know, when you book a ticket on Make My Trip and Jet Airways cancels your flight, you don't hold Make My Trip responsible. You hold Jet Airways responsible. In our case, we were handling about 180 private jet operators. And every time they canceled the plane, we were held responsible. It made me think as to, you know, what do we do to solve this problem? The customer base is very limited. We cater to about 0.1% of India who controls the livelihood and the GDP of the balanced 99.9%. But what do we do to ensure this 0.1% remains ours? You know, overnight from being a simple marketplace for private jets, we became an airline operator, literally. We went up to these private jet owners and we said that, you know, sir, you're great at manufacturing cement, you're India's largest cement manufacturer. You're great at manufacturing steel, you're India's largest steel manufacturer. But I'm great at running planes. So let me run your planes, let me turn these cost centers into profit centers for you. You know, initially they would all look at me and look like, what is this girl saying? Does she even know what she's talking about? There was this one customer who had faith in us. He gave us his planes, he gave me 5 aircrafts, in fact. And that turned things around for us. It took all my might for 6 months to keep those planes running. You know, I had taken on a team of 70 people with those planes who were thrice my age, all men, no offense, but they didn't like me. You know, one of them came up to me and said, you should be getting married, let me help you out. You know, I'll pay for your wedding, don't worry. And it made me think, again, you know, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Do I still want to do this? And these roadblocks continued. But at the end of the day, you know, you had to go to sleep thinking, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to solve this. I'm not going to give in. It took a lot of perseverance to just go to work each morning and face these people and tell them, yes, I'm going to change your life. Today, a lot of these people look at me with a lot of respect. Now I've become from Kanika to Kanika ma'am. I've forgotten that I'm called Kanika Tekriwal. I'm so used to hearing Kanika ma'am, ma'am, ma'am all the time that it's one of the most irritating things in my life. But these are the same people who laughed at me 2 years ago and said, you're going to be our boss. Are we going to be reporting to you? So, you know, I think the primary lesson, again, that comes out of this is that you've got 2 things. One is you've got to be able to, you know, give in to the fact that your idea may not be the best. You have to be able to pivot as required by the market, by the business, by surrounding conditions. If we hadn't gone from being a marketplace to being the largest airplane operator, I don't think we would have come where we've come today. We've flown more hours than Vistara. We operate more planes than Vistara. We do it at 1/3 their team strength and 1/3 their fleet size, probably. But I think the primary reason for this success is we were never, ever stuck to our ideas of this is what we want to do. You know, our vision was very simple. We want to enable the fastest mobility from point A to point B in the world by any means, be it flying cars, be it flying private jets, be it helicopters, be it Elon Musk's Hyperloop. You know, we want to be the people who execute this irrespective. And we will do whatever it takes to make it happen. I think, which is why we've been able to, you know, get to where we've gotten right now. But again, like I said, it's a new normal, right? So every time you think you've solved this one problem, a new problem comes up. Last month, I didn't know how to pay my salaries. This month, I have excess inventory. I've not had too many planes fly thanks to the current condition of the economy. Can I go and blame the country for it? No, I've got to find a solution to solve the problem. So we're sitting, you know, working out ways and means to ensure this excess inventory is sold, and we're not at a loss. We're probably trying to cut our losses right now, yet ensure we show a net profit at the end of the year. I think every day when you wake up, your set of problems is different, your set of issues is going to be different, but every night you're going to go to sleep with double the problems. But it's up to you to, you know, be really, to go to sleep happy, thinking, I've achieved what I set out to do. Someone once told me that, you know, Kanika, every morning when you wake up, be that woman who, when you put your feet down on the ground, the devil says, oh Lord, she's up. And that's exactly how I wake up every single morning. Thank you.